And now we do the thing that I've been putting off for the entire game, the arenas. So there are actually two different arenas. If you play an arena in multiplayer, you'll just get a PvP match, so you can go murder your friends, I guess. But in solo mode, you'll fight wave upon wave of enemies. Of course, it starts simple, but each round more and more enemies are added, meaning there are more enemies to surround and eventually tear you limb from limb if you're not careful. I mean, not really, they'll just whack you until you fall over, it's not that violent, but either way though, point still stands, if you're not careful, arenas can really destroy you. However, if you wait till the end of the game to do arenas, they're not really too challenging. I mean, we're fighting barbarians, they're still very easy enemies. In fact, only the last two arenas are really all that bad. Though, the last one is the only one I really die to all that often most of the time. Hoo boy, the last arena is not fun at all. Now, you can use potions and sandwiches and, well, really any item in general in the arena. However, you do not earn money, meaning you don't want to be doing arenas too much, because if you do, then you might find yourself low on potions and even lower on money if you keep deciding to buy more in potions, so be very wary. Try to use potions only when they count, and hopefully you'll be safe. Honestly, you really shouldn't need it here though. As I said before, this is pretty easy. Also, you might have noticed the giant cats in the arena. They don't appear in all the arenas, but they do appear in multiplayer mode if they appear in the solo version of the arena. Get too close and they will swat at you. However, the giant cats will not swat at the enemies, so in this mode, it's a bit one-sided. Though I do kind of like the concept of just these giant cats for no reason, sitting there, judging the battle, and watching Crag's sweet dance moves. Look at him go! So yes, that was victory at the Barbarians Arena. So that was fairly easy, and the nice thing is, in solo mode, you do actually get new characters for beating the arenas. Not in multiplayer mode though, that's again strictly for killing your friends. In the King's Arena, you unlock the Barbarian character by beating that, and here of course you'll get the Thief enemy for beating this arena. I mean, usually you just get your respective character from each arena, or whatever character is related to the arena. It's less obvious name-wise in the King's Arena since it's named after the king, but you don't unlock the Grey Knights or anything, you unlock the Barbarians. I mean, in fairness, that's who you fight, but still. Here though, you fight thieves. The arena is named the Thieves Arena, so should be pretty obvious, but we're fighting thieves. And of course, the nice thing about these guys as well is they do act like they do in games, so you're not going to be seeing too much magic from them. Arrows, on the other hand, as they're demonstrating, they are perfectly happy to use arrows. Way more than perfectly happy, even. They are absolutely ecstatic. Oy, that is what's annoying about the Thieves Arena. Thankfully, since I've saved this till the end of the game, it's pretty easy. Barbarians Arena is pretty easy no matter what, just might be a little bit more difficult to endure at the start of the game. This, though, I'm not taking too much damage, but early on, they'd just make you into Swiss cheese with all those arrows flying about. And while some of these rounds can be short, well, the overall arena fights rather, and geez, let me stand already. Criminy. They are quite unrelenting with those arrows, aren't they? But anyway, as I was saying, these rounds can tend to feel long when you're actually playing them. Just because there's a whole lot of stuff trying to kill ya, and, you know, this is probably going to seem pretty short when you're watching it, but when you're playing, every time a round ends, you're kind of just thinking, oh, please, for the love of God, let that be the last one. Especially later on. And when it doesn't happen, it's kind of painful. Of course, that makes actually beating the arena that much more sweet. until you've realized how much time you wasted actually trying to beat the arena. But you know, for a moment it's satisfying. You're filled with joy that you've accomplished something in your miserable life. But yet again, you snap back to the fact that it's only a video game, and really, did it matter in the end? But then you think further. Does anything matter? Apparently to Crag it does. He's just laughing at the corpses of his opponents. He doesn't really get this existential shit. He just laughs. Sometimes Crag seems so simple, and yet we can appreciate him for that. His simplicity will never fade, and we love him for it. So oddly enough, even though this is the fire arena, we fight cone heads here, which means these lava plumes can actually be useful. Shove those cone heads into those lava plumes and that'll hurt. Of course, it'll also hurt you, so do be careful of that. Do be wary of lava jetting out from holes. Now, as I said before, this should be easy by this point, but like Thieves Arena, if you try to tackle it immediately, I can't imagine this would be easy or fun. I mean, as per usual, of course, cone heads like throwing bombs around. And I'm just thankful I'm at the point in the game where that doesn't hurt too much, because, like, thieves shooting arrows, you kind of just go on and never really stop with that, so it's pretty much the norm. I mean, maybe they use bombs slightly more often than they did back at, like, the Wedding Crashers stage and stuff like that. I mean, the thieves for sure used more arrows than they normally do. They were a lot more aggressive. Actually, these guys are pretty, not defensive, but they're trying to evade me. Yeah, it's not going to help them too much, but keeping their distance is almost smart. Of course, hopefully, for them anyway, they just decide to attempt to evade me into a lava plume. That'd be nice. I'd enjoy that. I'd also like to just mention again, I probably should have used the Necromancer's Sword. I usually do use the Necromancer's Sword, because that does give you a defense bonus, but I just decided to go with the Dragon Sword. I am, however, keeping Snailbert because he's going to be useful because he gives you a lot of defense, and I don't need the agility anyway. Of course, if I were going with Crag's actual spirit animal, Bipolar Bear, that would also be kinda useful. Because, I mentioned it before, but he mauls dead enemies, or nearly dead enemies. He also mauls a nearly dead you. But, you know, you can ignore that as long as you play it safe with potions. You should be fine. But it's nice to be able to get enemies killed when they're almost dead anyway. Just do that extra little bit of damage that tells you you're beating them without actually having to beat them yourself. It's always a good indication that the fight's almost over, when the game just finishes them off for you. Of course, to be fair, I've never really gotten to the point where Bipolar Bear would kill me instead, unless I'm already dead. Like, if I get to that amount of health, it's because the enemies are whacking me and just taking me all the way to 0 health. Like, I'm at a chunk of health that I think is safe, but apparently is not, and then I die horribly. Speaking of dying horribly, if you could please fall down, thank you very much. Unfortunately, all 3 doors opening isn't nearly as good of a sign of the thing almost being over as you'd hope it would be. I mean, only 1 door opens at first, eventually 3 opens, so a lot of enemies can come flooding in. But it's not like you see 3 doors open, then suddenly you're like, oh, yeah, that's only 2 rounds left. Would be nice, but there's still a lot of fighting to do afterwards. Or at least what feels like a lot of fighting. But already this is actually getting pretty, not necessarily difficult, but time-consuming. Because, of course, Coneheads are much stronger enemies than the previous 2 ones we fought. and therefore it's more of an endurance to actually take care of them in an arena fight. Thankfully their damage is somewhat low, bomb-wise at least. Still not trusting those swords too much. Actually, they do the same damage, so... Still though, 13 damage doesn't seem to be too much anymore, especially thanks to Snailbert. Thank you, Snailbert, you're ever so helpful. Oh yeah, and if it wasn't obvious... Actually, no, didn't I already mention that the Coneheads were the unlockable characters here? Well, if not, beat this arena and you unlock the Coneheads. I would say that means you can unlock the lightsaber easily if you didn't already get it, but that one Conehead with weights on his back, or whatever those happen to be, he will always drop the lightsaber, and honestly, has a pretty good drop rate in the first place, and you fight a lot of Coneheads, so there is pretty much no way you're going to be missing the lightsaber by this point. Which is good, because I like that weapon. It's nice that it's easy to find. And I swear I'm not yawning because of the game boring me. I swear it's just because it's midnight over here. Also, these Coneheads are taking a while to kill. Alright, I'll admit it. And I'm pretty sure this isn't the last round. I'm just going to say it over and over so that when it actually is the last round, it'll be nice. Oh, nope, there we go. Parag's dancing. He knows. He knows it's over, and he's happy for it. He's really rubbing it into the volcano arena. Because quite frankly, he probably doesn't like the place anyway. So we're moving on to the second continent, because it's over here that we will find the Peasant Arena. Oddly enough, Peasant Arena is not where we'll unlock the peasants, it's where we unlock these guys, the snakies. And hey, the cats are back! This area doesn't really have any other gimmick of its own though, so yeah, they just decided to bring in the cats again. Thank goodness this wasn't a water arena or anything like that, that would have been the worst. I'm happy to have these cats back, just sitting there, looking at us. I've probably mentioned this before, but they're kind of cute. Even if they are very judgmental cats, they're kind of adorable. You have to wonder where these things come from, though. Why are there giant cats here? I mean, they're normal-sized cats. You guys related to Meowbert? Met that guy a while back. He seemed alright. Gave me +3 agility. Not something I needed. I mean, they do have a very similar face. Smaller eyes, though. I mean, in proportion to the rest of their face anyway. Obviously, they're larger eyes all in all, but yeah, it's like saying it's got larger whiskers or just a larger head in general. Of course it does. It's a giant cat compared to a tiny little animal orb. Of course, the nice thing about giant cats is, while they're not useful for killing your enemies in solo, in PvP, it's a different story. You can just send your friends flying into these giant cats. Just really whack them over there, and then the cats will hopefully finish the job for you. So yes, Castle Crashers, you can murder your friends with cats. That really should have been a selling point. I don't know why it wasn't. At least I don't think it was. I never saw it. Oh geez. Yeah, this is definitely where it gets difficult. Because I've lost a fair amount of health. Snailbert's really coming in handy here. And of course these guys are super aggressive, and if you let them surround you, they're definitely going to take the opportunity and just wail on you. Ugh. Actually, there's no really better time to say this, but I actually lost in this arena. You might have noticed, or might not, because I actually did go shopping before this round, but I've got less money now than I did before. And that's because I had to buy a potion or two off screen after losing here. I don't actually usually lose to this one, because while I would say it's harder, I never usually die. But yeah, here, not so much. Doesn't work out like that, sadly. Funny thing is, though, the last arena, the one I always have trouble on, and apparently didn't even win in the Steam version until I recorded it, even though I swear I had before. But yeah, that, I got that in one try. I always have trouble with that one, and you'll see why later. Oh, trust me, you'll see why. But yeah, I just beat it in one go, somehow. And this one I didn't even die for a particular reason. I just died because I wasn't careful with my potions, and then the enemies got the better with me, so that's why you always pay attention to your health. Because otherwise you'll die to, not easy, but you'll avoid deaths that you really should avoid. And man, this is kind of a large group of enemies, and they're all very fast, and if you don't hit all of them at once, which is very likely for that to happen, oh boy, one of them is going to interrupt you by firing arrows at you. If you are able to group them all together, though, and just start wailing on them, there is very little they can do to actually retaliate, so, you know, in that manner, you might actually be able to receive victory like that, but at the same time, there are eventually so many that you just can't do that. You can't keep track of them all, especially when one gets a quick hit before you're really able to just get them all together. Really start hitting them a whole lot. Jeez, that speed is the biggest problem. That's probably the worst part about these arenas, is just how fast enemies go. It's like the Necromancer fight. When enemies go a lot faster than they're supposed to, that just makes everything really difficult, because it's just so hard to avoid things now. Because it's so very erratic. The Barbarians were definitely a little faster than they were, but I don't think they were actually this fast. And Thieves, it's hard to tell, because they're normally fast enemies. They probably got a bit faster, but as I mentioned before, they definitely got a lot more aggressive, and yeah, they just started firing arrows, and these guys are pretty similar. Not quite as arrow-heavy, though. To be fair, I don't think they quite need it. I mean, they're perfectly fine just giving one whack and then interrupting my attacks like that. At the very least, I knock other ones over when I'm hit. And it's probably about this amount of health that I died the first time with. I was probably like, you know, I should probably use a potion soon, and then the enemies just tore me apart. But we won this time. I did it. Drag's doing his little dance. Look at him go. Love that dance. And for that, oh, I guess you also do unlock the peasants. But I'm pretty sure you also unlock Snaky, so I think you actually unlock multiple things for that arena, which is unusual, but you do unlock one of the peasant characters from that. There's actually a second peasant character, though. And this is the last arena, the Ice Arena, with ice physics. I am not excited for ice physics at all. And of course, Ice Schemos are very recent enemies, and I know I badmouthed them when I was doing their stage, because they were easy then. But now, ice physics are not really a thing you had to deal with in the original level. It was just for the Frost King. But now we have it for an enemy battle, and you see how the Snakies were really aggressive before, and were kind of unrelentless after a while once there were large groups of them? Yeah, just imagine that, but with ice floors, and just completely unbearable. Then you get this battle. Yeah, I don't know how I actually managed to get this first try, other than, well, I'm thankful for the power of sandwiches. They truly got me through the day. Of course, you only get 9 of them, so you don't want to waste them, so I was trying to be careful here. Plus, there's no real reason to use it early on. Even if you do get a hit a few times, don't rely on sandwiches this early. You'll run out way too early. Of course, they're already getting some good shots in on me, and that is not good at all. You don't want them to get good shots in on you. Oh geez, that looks really bad. Yeah, the problem is the ice does not give them any sort of difficulty. They are a-okay on the ice, but you on the other hand, oh boy, you are slowed down so very much because you're slip-sliding around. Meanwhile, they're just getting easy hits. Oh boy. Yeah, thanks, Sign. It's nice of you to say don't let them get to me. You know, I appreciate that in this trying time. I mean, that's the perfect place for this sign. Because, let me tell you, these guys do let it get to me. Now, I'm not gonna creep. Not down in Pumpkin Hill. Not finding my lost piece. I don't know if it's here. I can't sense it in my feet. The Great Emerald's power doesn't allow me to feel. And unlike Knuckles, I do chuckle. That's just me quoting Sonic music because I have nothing else. I mean, they're giant cats, but we've discussed the giant cats. They're cute, they're judgmental, they will kill your friends, and that's nice. But, you know, what else is there? There are ice floors and ice schemos, and I'm kind of spent at this point. Look, I've been through 4 arenas, it's just more and more enemy battles. And don't get me wrong, this is a beat-em-up, so there are plenty of enemy battles in the first place, but usually not in one confined area. Usually they mix things up. This is just straight up fighting some enemies for a while. And this is the point where I start using sandwiches. Now, unfortunately, windmilling them into the air doesn't always work. I really could group them together better, and they still manage to get good hits in on me. Anime finisher. Boom. I do so love that. It's just so cool whenever they just fall to the ground from off-screen. You've just windmilled them so hard. I guess some kanji probably appeared as well, and then they just slow-motion fall to the ground as you just land dramatically. And coolly, of course. You gotta emphasize how cool you are while making the landing, and oh, I did not want you separating like that. Really wish they would not separate like that. Stay together, friends. Come on. You can do it. Eh, well. I kinda hate that they don't just disappear and they stay as dead bodies until you finally beat all the enemies in a round. Just because for one fleeting moment I think they might still be alive. Again, it does disappear eventually, but just for that one brief moment I'm thinking, those guys are just gonna get back up and start hitting me more. Of course, on the other hand, I also feel like an enemy falls down and I'm like, okay, he's definitely dead by this point, but then the enemy does get up and I'm like, oh, well, fuck. Anime finisher. Oh, that wasn't quite an anime finisher. He has to fall from off-screen. He was still kind of off-screen when it happened, or on-screen rather. I think I said off-screen there. Not even quite sure, I'm so tired. Just sleep tired and also tired of enemies. Please let the arenas end. Just let them end. Look at them, they're trying to kill me during my transformation sequence. That's not allowed, you can't do that. It is quite literally impossible because of my invincibility frames. Oh dear. You know, it is really tempting to just burn through your sandwiches. Just because, you know, you get to the point where you don't even kill that many enemies with them. And maybe you do kill a few enemies, but then there's so many left and they're all so aggressive and ready to kill you. I mean, if you know how many rounds there are in an entire arena, then maybe you can count it out so you can waste them at your own pleasure, but I don't remember that off the top of my head. I just hope to God it is the last round. This time, however, it was not. It just keeps going and going. I don't even know if they're adding any new enemies anymore. I mean, it's not like I'm counting or anything, so maybe it's the same amount of enemies every time, but by this point they're like, yeah, you're probably getting hit a whole lot, so what's the point of adding more enemies? And that was a really close call. How did I survive that? I'm amazed I managed to pull that off. However, I'm also a lot lower on potions than I'd hoped. I was hoping I'd still be at like 3 or 4 at this point. But to be fair, 4 is really, it's not gonna happen, that's just trying. I mean, it's possible if you're really good at it, but thanks to ice physics and these guys just being very aggressive, probably not gonna happen. Also, I just realized, it hasn't happened to me, but those weapons should be capable of critical hits, as they are in a normal game. So unless they turned critical hits off for arena-specific stuff, then that could also prove very challenging if you're doing at least decently and then suddenly you're just dead because of a critical, but hey, we're done! And Crag just laughs. They did not get to him. He found it quite amusing. However, will he find his final challenge amusing? Because next time on Castle Crashers, we try our hand at Insane Mode.